Okay, for literacy today, we're going to talk about literal and non-literal language. Okay, we've done a lot of this already. You just know it as a different term. Instead of non-literal, we usually call it figurative language. Okay, so in fourth grade, we have to know the difference between literal language and non-literal or figurative language. So let's talk about what is literal language anyways. So literal language is going to be language that means the literal, like exact meaning. Okay, or you can think about it as the dictionary meaning of a word. Okay, so it's exactly what you would think of, and if you went to a dictionary, that's what it would say it meant. Okay? The example, I had a piece of cake before my test. The real meaning would be I literally ate cake before I had a test, right? Literal language. Now that takes us to the non-literal language. Now remember, we know non-literal as figurative language, okay? They are the same thing. Non-literal language or figurative language is language that goes beyond the dictionary meaning of the word or phrase. Okay, so for example, that test was a piece of cake. The real meaning is that test was really easy. Okay, so why do authors do this? And why do they use figurative language instead of just being literal so that it's easier to follow and understand? Well, believe it or not, figurative language actually helps readers better picture or understand something. It clears up that mental movie for you a little bit. Okay. And then oftentimes what you're going to see in stories are some common expressions that we call idioms that indicate something beyond the literal language. And that's the example of that test was a piece of cake. Okay, so let's look at some more to get an idea of what we're talking about here. So, example number one, Maggie's grandma always says she is as sweet as pie. Maggie goes over to see her grandma every day after school to help her with any chores she has around the house. So the figurative language being she is as sweet as pie, if we change that to literal language, we would just say Maggie's grandma always says she is a sweet girl, right? That's the literal language. How about figurative language number two? Micah just wanted to go outside and play with his friends. It had been raining cats and dogs all weekend and everyone had to stay inside. It didn't look like the rain was going to let up any time soon. Okay. Figurative language, it had been raining cats and dogs. How does that change your mental movie in your head, right? It really paints the picture that it wasn't just like a little sprinkle, right? It's not just a little bit of rain. This was a really big storm. It was raining very hard. Right? So figurative language helps you see that picture a little bit better. Now, think to yourself, if we had literal language there, what would that sound like? Hopefully you said something like, Micah just wanted to go outside and play with his friends. It had been raining so hard all weekend and everyone had to stay inside. That would be the literal language. Okay, so I have some other examples that I've pulled. So even though it says number 5, this is going to be our third example for us. The fall breeze made the leaves dance in the wind. It was a beautiful sight to watch the red, orange, and yellow swirl about. Okay? Think to yourself, what would those purple words be if we were going to use literal language? Hopefully you said something like, the fall breeze made the leaves blow in the wind. Okay, and that's true, but let's think back to some of our pop sentences and when we practiced those on Friday. Just one little change of meaning can really change the visual or the mind movie that the reader has, right? So this could be the fall breeze made the leaves kind of, just sort of lightly move in the wind. But when they use the phrase leaves dance in the wind. It makes it sound a little bit more graceful, and you have at least for me, my picture gets a little bit bigger and I see bigger trees, fuller leaves, right? It helps my picture in my mind. Okay, I think we have one more here. Um, Even though Haley participated in the spelling bee last year, she always got cold feet anytime she had to speak in front of a crowd. She hoped to do better this year than last year. Okay. She always got cold feet. Of course, we know she doesn't really get cold feet, right? So what would the literal language be? Maybe something like, even though Haley participated in the spelling bee last year, she still gets nervous anytime she has to speak in front of a crowd. Right? Doesn't change the meaning, right? But the figurative language is a nice tool that writers have that you can use too as a writer to really help develop the reader's mental movie. Okay, so what we're going to do next, guys, you are going to head over to Seesaw and you're going to need that QR code again. Um, and on Seesaw, you're going to get to a screen. You're going to have this activity here, the figurative and literal language sort. And I have your directions here. Click the add response to start your activity. You're going to sort your, and it says words, actually they're sentences. You're going to sort them. You're going to use that little finger drag tool. You know what I did? These directions I had originally made for words their way, and so they're not going to make sense for this. So let me just show you what I want you to do. I'm telling you guys, I'm not feeling great. You're going to click the add response, okay? And you're going to get a screen that looks like this. We're going to do a sort. You're going to need to add your name up here, okay? So got that. So add your name. Now, all of your cards are stacked up down here. So you're just going to take the first one that's on top and you have to decide, is this sentence being used as literal language or are they using figurative language in the sentence? It takes the meaning beyond its dictionary definition. So I spent 3 hours cleaning my car this afternoon. Well, that might seem like a really long time, but that is something that you could do, right? That it's not beyond a dictionary definition, so that might be a literal language. Okay, and then you're going to go through. I think you have about 14 of these that you have to read the sentence. You're going to click on it, drag it to where you want it to go. Okay, and then when you're finished, this is like a worksheet, right? Like that you would have at your desk. When you're done, instead of taking it to the basket to turn in, you have to click this green circle with the check mark. I know I keep saying that, but you guys would be shocked how many people are not doing it, and therefore I'm not getting your finished work. So you're doing all that work for nothing. Okay, so make sure you click that button to send it over. Okay, and then at later on for book clubs, at the end of the day, we're going to revisit literal and figurative language, or literal and non-literal language, and we're going to talk about it from the lens of the 100 Dresses. Okay, so you're going to be finding an example of each one in your novel book, but that's later at book club. All right, guys, good luck.